Who will we be talking about for award season, Dave? Let's do some Oscar predictions. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, so the Oscar nominations are coming on the 22nd. We figured we'd try and predict what's going to happen ahead of time. And then once the noms come out, we won't actually do our official predictions till right before the ceremony. So this is the last we'll talk about those for, a few more weeks.
Hmm.
But yeah, we're going to talk about the major categories, ones we normally talk about: acting, screenplays, director, picture, the usual suspects. Um, and it's interesting because since the Globes happened, which was a big kerfuffle, which we talked about, the good and the bad of the Globes last week. So check that out: YouTube, SoundCloud, all that. Since then, only a week later, a lot of Green Book news, and not for good reasons, right?
Yeah.
And the
No.
question is, and this is the big question: is does that matter enough during this voting period? Will it affect enough people to change minds and swing races? That's my main question, because I think a lot of the noms, in fact, a lot of the favorites, are really starting to fall into place. Um, and whether you think A or B will win, it's pretty clear that A, B, and C will be there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty confident in I'd say like three-fourths of every category right now. It's just a matter of who actually ends up winning and who fills up the bottom of the list for me. Well, what are your thoughts right now?
Yeah, I'm most interested to see um I guess the best picture race and the the main the best actor and the best actress race are probably the two that I'm most interested in, or the three I'm most interested in, only because I feel like no matter what happens, there's going to be one or two people in each category that I feel like really deserve a nomination based on their performances or based on the film's overall uh, uh, ability as a piece of art, or credence as a piece of art, that are just not going to be able to get nominated based on the limitations.
Uh,
Um, I guess maybe we should start with the lower like the maybe the less anticipated categories, like best adapted screenplay or best original
sure.
screenplay. Um, Adapted screenplay, I mean, it feels like there's probably six in the race, maybe seven. The lock's got to be Klansman, right? Black Klansman, Beale Street, and A Star Is Born.
Yep. I'd also throw Can You Ever Forgive Me in there. That movie's
Okay.
getting a lot of uh down ballot attention. It's probably going to get a fair amount of noms and maybe not win anything.
Hmm.
Um, and that would leave four. So it's all a matter of what's the fifth spot. I would
Yeah.
of course cape for First Man. And I think
Right.
First Man's close, but does it get in there?
Black. I mean, right now, looking at Gold Derby, has Black Panther 23-2. First Man's a 20-1 odd. Um, there's also Death of Stalin, Crazy Rich Asians, and Leave No Trace, which, uh, man, I mean, I feel like any of those could be deserving. I would probably want Black Panther to get in there because I think it makes sense that, especially because the Oscars, they're going without a host, but they're going to be basically bringing all the Avengers on stage. Like, you should be
Mm,
celebrating these superhero movies. I know that they get a knock, but they are the highest earning movies reliably right now, along with horror films. And if you make a quality one, it should be rewarded. So I hope Black Panther gets it. I would probably bet First Man gets nominated for this though.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, remember Logan kind of broke down that barrier to a certain extent
yeah.
last year, 2 years ago, when it got the best adapted nom as well. So it's not totally unspoken for, but a Marvel Studios film really crossing over beyond the technical categories would be big. And I mean, we'll talk about Black Panther and Best Picture in a second, but I think we're probably going to see some of that. Over on Best Original Screenplay, I think that's probably a much more interesting race, just because I mean, there's three there's two that are guaranteed. I'd say the favorite is probably my choice to win, just because
Yeah.
that's a screenplay that really stands out. And check our review on the film, but it has an identity as a screenplay, as a script, right? And the
Hmm.
Yorgos effect. So that's obvious. Roma is a Best Picture front runner. That's
Hmm.
a given. Then after that, you know, Vice, Green Book. Green Book. We've talked about the screenplay not being a strength of the film, to say the
Hmm.
least. Will it still get this nom? Is it slipping? The problem is what will take the place. I think First Reformed, they're really campaigning for that. That's like the really award they're focusing on. They kind of
Hmm.
gave up on Ethan Hawke, unfortunately. A24 really wants this for Paul Schrader. I think they should. I think it should win, or sorry, at least nominate. I think it'll get there. So
Mhm.
that's 4. But is Green Book going to hang on? Because like, what's going to take the spot? Are you going to give it to Sorry to Bother You? I'd love to see that. I don't think it's going to happen. Eighth Grade, Quiet Place. I don't see that either. So I think Green Book is just going to hang in there.
A Quiet Place really fascinates me, especially because last year Get Out. I mean, Jordan Peele won for, I think it was Best Original Screenplay, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting to see if they basically, I mean, A Quiet Place taking the place of Get Out. It's a horror movie that came out earlier in the year. Did really well at the box office. Was a bit of a phenomena. I wonder if it could be if it could get there. I don't see Green Book coming out of it though. And if I was a betting man, I would bet that it'd be all the ones that you mentioned right up front. That it would be The Favorite, Roma, Vice, Green Book, and First Reformed. I think First Reformed is going to make it in there, and I really hope it does. It's a film that's going to be under nominated this year for how good it was, and that's probably going to be my biggest disappointment of the Oscars just in general, is that it doesn't get enough love. Even though it wasn't one of my favorite films of the year, it was up there, but I still think it deserves to get credit for what it accomplished. Why don't we jump to the best supporting categories? Let's start with best supporting actor. So we already mentioned Mahershala for Green Book. He's the favorite. He's probably going to win.
Mm-hmm.
He's a lock. After that, I feel like it's kind of wide open. I mean, Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me seems like he's probably going to get there. Sam Elliott, I assume. Who after
Yeah,
that?
this is another one where it's kind of a weak category, right? So it's like when I saw Sam Elliott in the Star Report, I was like, I like Sam Elliott. I thought it was fine. Supporting role is good, but he wasn't in the movie that much. He probably won't hang on for this award. But I mean, who are you going to replace him with, right? Mentioned Mahershala. You mentioned Richard Grant's the upset pick if it happens. Chalamet's going to get nominated for Beautiful Boy, but isn't going to win. And they really didn't push that at all. I don't think he's been. I don't think he's shook in a whole hand, one whole hand for the film all season. So that's fine. And then you have Sam Elliott and Adam Driver, I guess, for Black Klansman. Like, unless they do Sam Rockwell, they go all in on Vice.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Daniel Kaluuya for Widows. Widows is probably going to get almost nothing, if anything at all. Brian Tyree Henry for Beale Street. That would be my choice, but it's only one scene, and Beale Street is getting slightly overlooked throughout the season. So, I won't get my hopes up.
If Brian Tyree Henry gets nominated, that's the Hannibal Lecter nomination right there. Where basically I'm forgetting his name. I'm blanking a lot today, but the actor who played him won Best Supporting Actor for Anthony Hopkins won for like 12 minutes in the film. Like that's almost the exact same amount of time that Brian Tyree Henry. Yeah. So I wonder if Michael B. Jordan could get in there. He's pretty well liked by the Academy.
It's true. The problem is I think there is some dislike for that performance. Some people think it's too over the top. I'm not one of those people, but I've heard that more than once. I mean, also like shout out Tom Waits and Buster Scruggs. Not going to happen, but that'd be cool. Like Paul Giamatti in Private Life. There are tons of great performances that I would love to see recognized, but they're just not realistic, right? So, yeah, I think this one is like, it's kind of boring, because it's like Sam Elliott and Driver are just kind of going in because you're not going to pick the other people. So, yeah, it's whatever.
Who would you want? Like, let's say we know it's those top 3. Who would be the 2 that you personally would want? I guess I'd probably want Chalamet and Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, I'd root for Chalamet, and then let's go
Brian
off the.
Tyree.
There's other types of film. Let's recognize Daniel Kaluuya. That was a great performance.
Yeah,
and then Brian Tyree Henry. Why not?
Yeah, Kaluuya is so intimidating. We talked about it when we reviewed the pod, but just like what he does with his eyes in that film, he is probably the best actor with just one part of his body. I mean, we're moving off that comment quick. Best supporting actress. So Regina King won at the Globes. She's I assume a heavy favorite for this. But then it's interesting because I mean, the Globe nominations were probably got it right for the most part. Um, but I mean, so you probably have Amy Adams coming behind her for Vice, Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz
Yep.
for that fifth spot. I would love to see Nicole Kidman get it, and she would get it for Boy Erased, but I would want her to almost get it as like for Destroyer, like it's like to
Yeah.
recognize that performance because she's not going to get into the Best Actress category, I don't think,
Right.
but she deserves it.
Yeah. She's really good in in Destroyer, but that's a lead role,
Right.
and she's good in Boy Erased as well. But that's a performance we've seen from her before. That's like her performance in Lion, right?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, then on the other hand, Nicole Kidman's been honored plenty. It's not like anyone's crying over her
Sure.
not getting another nomination. So it's like that fifth spot. I think everyone's just kind of penciling in Claire Foy from First Man,
Mhm.
and that's again, it's relatively because I mean, we're gonna pick Michelle Yeoh from Crazy Rich Asians. I think that's a bit of a stretch if the movie's not going to get much else, you know. And
Mhm.
then like Thomasin McKenzie from Leave No Trace. That movie probably
That'd be
won't get
cool.
much of anything either, and it's probably just gonna be overlooked. So that's another tough sell to me. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna we'll just have it'll be Claire Foy, fifth place, no chance spot. You know.
Yeah, well, so since that seems like a pretty sure lock, why don't we jump into the Best Actor category? We know the favorites. There's probably three that are up there: Bradley Cooper, Christian Bale, and Rami Malek. Um, A Star Is Born, Vice, and Bohemian Rhapsody, which won the Golden Globe for best film, best drama. Which, check out our discussion on that last week because I think I still haven't really recovered. Um, but those three are almost a lock. Vigo for Green Book. Green Book's taking a hit right now. Do you think he could possibly fall out of this category?
You know, this is another one where I think we've talked about this race a lot, right? We mentioned Ethan Hawke,
Mhm.
mentioned a lot of Robert Redford. We mentioned a lot of people that we assume were in the mix for this, right? And I think the ultimate problem for me is I looked at the SAG nominations. The actors comprise the biggest block of the voting academy. And the SAGs went Cooper, Malik, Bale, Vigo, John David Washington from Black Klansman.
Mhm.
And as much as I might pick other people, um, I think that's just kind of what we're going to get, unless there's some real evangelizing for Redford and Hawk or Willem Dafoe for Matt Attorney's Gate. Like I just, I think this is kind of just going to go chalk, and I don't think Vigo has any shot at winning.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't think anyone's really holding Green Book's faults against Vigo as a performer. Everyone's just kind of giving him and Mahershala a pass for the movie, right? And
Yeah.
also thought they were pretty good along the way. So, I think I'm just going to defer to that. But I mean, I would root for, I mean, and like Ryan Gosling, if First Man had done better and was bigger all season, you know, that would have made more sense. But I don't think he has a chance now. So it's really hard to foresee anyone else stepping in, given the scope of the movies they're representing. I mean, Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible, I've mentioned it before. That's not going to happen, but I
Mhm.
wish it would.
Yeah, if I could hope for one person to get in that fifth spot, it definitely wouldn't be Willem Dafoe. I didn't think he was that good in Aquaman, actually. Um, no, but I mean, I talked about it on our best of pod. I love
Morgo.
Redford's performance. I would love to see him get that legacy nomination, especially since it's supposedly his last movie. Hawk would also be great. But it's most likely going to be those five. And I'm just happy for John David Washington. If I had to put
It's a
money
nice
on
one.
it, I think Christian Bale will probably win.
Yeah.
I think Cooper's gonna not gonna take it home, but we'll see. To be seen in this
Hmm.
category feels a bit more wide open than some of the supporting roles. Best actress, Glenn Close, definitely nominated. Lady Gaga, definitely nominated. Olivia Colman, seems like a lock. And
Definitely a lot.
then Melissa McCarthy, a lock for Can You Ever Forgive Me? That fifth spot, though, a bit more open. You know who I want to get in here? Yalitza Aparicio, because
Mm.
goddamn was she excellent in Roma for her first role too. She deserves the nomination. But who would you want to see get that fifth spot?
Yeah, you already mentioned Kidman. Um, I really like Regina Hall and Support the Girls. I really like Elsie Fisher in eighth grade. A lot of people like Toni Collette and Hereditary. There's a lot of good picks for this. Viola Davis, Rosamund Pike in A Private War. I thought she was really good.
Carrie
Um,
Mulligan in Wildlife.
of course, yeah. There's a lot, and then there's other ones that don't seem to have a chance, like Saoirse Ronan, who was recently
Yeah.
nominated for this, right? Um, Kiki Lane in Another Year might have got to sneak in here as a newcomer, but I think that fifth spot will probably just default to Emily Blunt. A lot of people thought Mary Poppins Returns would get more nominations than it's probably going to, but no one's really denied that Blunt's the best part of the film and well liked, and you can almost see it as a dual nom considering she was also in A Quiet Place. So I'm
Mhm.
going to default to that, and I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, and who do you got to win? Close.
No, I have Coleman winning. I'm just sticking
Ah,
with that
that'd be awesome. I
because, like I said with the Globes, Close and Coleman and Gaga, Close and Gaga did not go head to head with Coleman, so we don't know that yet. And I think Coleman's the winner.
that'd be great, and I really hope that either her or Gaga pull it out. Nothing against Glenn Close. Haven't seen the wife, so I can't really speak to her performance. I'm just going off what I've seen. Um, Best director, Alfonso Cuarón, heavy favorite. I would almost guarantee gonna get nominated and win this, but Bradley Cooper's also in it for A Star Is Born, Black Klansman. Spike Lee seems like he's a pretty sure bet. Then Yorgos, I think for the favorite, will probably get the nomination.
Fucking better get in.
I just really want to see Barry Jenkins get nominated, man. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like he's on the outside looking in, though.
Yeah, well, here the problem is Peter Farrelly for Green Book, right? No matter
Mm-hmm.
whose spot he takes, he's taking the spot, right?
Yep.
Like you mentioned, Yorgos, Barry Jenkins, Chazelle,
Adam
McKay,
McKay.
Kugler, Pavel Plavosky for Cold War, who's gotten some love. All of them are better picks than Peter Farrelly.
Mm-hmm.
Green Book is a conventionally old school directed film. He's not like the star of why that movie works for people. So that's going to be very disappointing if he gets in there. The controversies around Green Book, some of them directly relate to him. Um, we'd like to think they would honor Barry Jenkins, someone they'd honored before. So, and Yorgos, I mean, watch The Favorite and tell me that that wasn't directed unlike anything else. Like,
Right.
that's a colossal snub if it's the Yorgos they don't pick. So, it's really up to what happens with Fairley, honestly.
Yeah, I really hope Fairley doesn't get in. My pick would be Jenkins, but if McKay or Kugler gets in there over Fairley, that'd be great. I think those top four you really can't touch though. Like
Nope.
Spike Lee, I think deserves it. Cooper, Quaron, and Lanthimos all stand out. Why don't we round it out here? So we got 8 spots for Best Picture. Right now on Gold Derby, interestingly, maybe these are old odds I'm looking at. I don't think so though. It would have Bohemian Rhapsody on the outside looking in. Do you see that happening? That the Golden Globe winner for Best Drama could potentially not even be nominated?
Well, Best Picture is up. You can get up to 10
Oh,
nominations,
okay.
right? Not guaranteed. You
Excellent.
don't have to pick 10, but you can get up to 10, right?
I thought it
Um,
was only 8, but that was
well, when they
maybe only
expanded
8 were
after The
nominated.
Dark Knight didn't make it for '09, they made it 10. And then a few years later, they switched it to like up to 10, and I think at least 5, maybe a little more, something like that. So it's variable. Tough to bank on like those last few being guaranteed, right? Um, But even so, I think there's some like obvious ones that are going to be there. Roma will be there. Stars won't be there. Green Book will still be in Best Picture. Favorite will be there. That's 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can really say those won't happen. Vice, despite the you know polarizing reception in a certain sense, it's going to get some love elsewhere, including Bale. I think Vice is still a lock, although it really has no chance to win. A lot of people thought it might have before, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
Vice. I think Beale Street will still get in there. That's
Yep.
6. Black Klansman, 7. Now 8. If it's just 8, for example, we'll stick with that. Is it Black Panther? Is it Bohemian Rhapsody? Is it something unexpected like First Man? Because if it's 10, all 3 of those could get in. You know.
Yeah.
So I think Black Panther probably has a better shot than Bohemian Rhapsody if it's pick 1 right now, just because I think that Golden Globe immediate backlash will be fresh on people's minds when they voted this following week. But who am I to say?
No, I agree with what you're saying, and I really hope you're right. Man, it feels like it was a really good year for film. So many good directors and so many good performances. Um, Almost like too many. Like I'm looking here at like the films that are left off, and like it would be really nice to see a film like Can You Ever Forgive Me sneak in there, um, or Eighth Grade, which I really loved. First Reformed, like we talked about, I think that could be deserving of getting in there too. There's so many that are going to be left out. Uh, who would be your pick to win this? I feel like this is a little bit more. I feel like there's like three that could potentially really take this home, maybe four with Klansman having an outside shot.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's Roma or Star is Born. I never
Mhm.
really subscribed to Green Book or Bohemian Rhapsody actually getting it done. Um, and I'm not pot fuck, I'm not convinced yet, but I'm still gonna lean with Roma, actually, given the Star is Born has slightly faltered earlier,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Um, but it'll be interesting to see how many unconventional picks get in. I mean, in a certain sense, Black Klansman is one of those picks. But then when we're talking about Black Panther and Bohemian Rhapsody, it's a wider scope than I think people anticipated at the start of the year. It's also funny because there's a lot of movies that are going to be very undernommed, if at all. I mean, from big directors, Steve McQueen had a movie this year. Jason Reitman had two movies. Clint Eastwood, the Coen brothers, Spielberg, Wes Anderson. A lot of directors, people at the Academy like that have been nominated before, don't really seem to have any chance at much of anything. So it's an interesting year.
definitely an interesting year. My pick would be A Star Is Born. I think they're going to fall short in a lot of the categories they get nominated for, but I think they'll actually take home the big prize at the end of the night. Um, Either way, once the nominations come out, we'll have some analysis on our Twitter about it. So follow at Nowstalgia Pod on Twitter, and we'll also be tweeting along when the Oscars happen on, I believe it's the 22nd, if I'm correct. So uh, please follow us there for all of our analysis around this. And if there's something really big, like if there's really something to talk about
24th,
with it,
right?
yeah, we'll on the 24th we'll bring it up and we'll talk about it on the pod before then. But if not, come back here and see if we got it right.